Where were we? The author of Waverley was Scotch. Okay, so what I've been arguing is that this has all these general terms in it. X is an author of Waverley. And the meaning of the whole thing is put together from the meanings of those general terms. So how does that work? So we want to single out this bit, the author of Waverley. And we've got these general terms. Wrote Waverley and was Scotch. Yep. How do you get the meaning of this whole thing out of the meanings of those general terms? How do you get from this to the author of, someone said an author of Waverley. But if you say the author of Waverley, that adds something. After all, suppose Waverley had been written by a committee. Suppose Waverley had been written in the Socialist Republic, the People's Soviet Socialist Republic of Scotland, and, as it's now known, and had actually been written in accordance with strict party policy by a committee, right? In that case, there would be lots of people who wrote Waverley, right? Bill wrote Waverley, and Joe wrote Waverley, and Wilhelmina wrote Waverley, and so on. But there would there be such a thing as the author of Waverley? Well, let me put it another way. Suppose we're having a discussion about the plight of, let's say, Indonesia, and I say to you, look, it's time that the rich country helped. Why doesn't the rich country help Indonesia? And you might say to me, well, what do you mean, the rich country? There are plenty of rich countries, and they should all be helping. That's right. You could say that. Which rich country? Let me know the way of putting it. But if I say, well, there are many rich countries, what would be the meaning of the rich country? Yes? That's right. Right, but that's the whole point. You haven't stated which it is. Right. So but the point is, there's got to be just one for it to make sense to talk about the rich country. Your point is, if there are many, then that makes no sense to talk about the rich country. Let me put it another way. Suppose I say, I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with examples here, but suppose I say, the person in this room who can jump more than 30 feet at a single bound, that person should give me $10. There's nothing wrong with that remark. In fact, there are many things wrong with that remark. But part of anyone's objection would be, there's no one in the room who can jump more than 30 feet. So it's not right to talk about the person in the room who can jump more than 30 feet. If you're going to talk about the X, there must be, let me put it like this. Suppose that Waverley was written by a computer. It was actually generated by a computer. A machine just randomly cranked out all the symbols, and by God, there it is, the text of a novel. Yeah, that would actually explain quite a bit about Waverley. But it just got randomly cranked out. In that case, right, suppose you know that Waverley was written by a machine, and I don't, I think it was written by a person. And I say, the author of Waverley, right? Now, are you, in your supercilious way, going to let me away with that, talking about the author of Waverley? The right reaction there is, Waverley has no author. If you talk about the X, there must be at least one X. No, listen a minute. Frege is not under attack here. I'm making a really elementary point. There's actually in full agreement with Frege about the use of the in English. But if you say the F, there must be an F in order for your remark to be correct. If I say, the King of America weighs over 100 pounds, is that remark true or false? Why? Because he's light? Because he weighs less than 100 pounds? Just a minute, answer the question. Take this example, right? Suppose I say the King of America weighs over 100 pounds. Is it true or false? Why is it false? Because there is no, well, that's to say, it's not even that there's one King of America, right? How many Kings of America are there? There are none. In order for there to be such a thing as the King of America, so my remark might be correct, there would have to be at least one king. That's what you're all agreeing. And even if you say it's nonsense, the reason it's nonsense is that there isn't at least one. So if it's true that the King of America weighs over 100 pounds, there must be at least one King of America. That's the only point here, right? If it's true that the author of Waverley was Scotch, there must be such a thing as an author of Waverley. It can't have been just generated by a machine or the random product of a million monkey fingers. Surely that's okay. If I'm explaining this correctly, it should be striking you as painfully obvious. Can you put your hand up before I'm just saying your strikes you as painfully obvious? Oh, thank God. Okay. Right. Okay. So, right. If the author of Waverley was Scotch to be true, here's the general term, right? And what you're saying is there must be at least one thing hitting that spot. Yeah? It must. So this is not a term that refers to anyone, and this is not a term that refers to anyone. This is telling you how many people meet this condition, and the answer is at least one. Right? So for the author of Waverley Scotch to be true, there must be at least one person who wrote Waverley. But that is not enough. Suppose that America actually has 3 kings, and I say to you, if the King of America weighs over 100 pounds, is my remark true or false? Let's suppose that the 3 of them are all of different weights, and one of them's only just been born. Okay? Is my remark true or false when I say the King of America? You don't know? What information do you need? I'm just talking about the king. Very good. That's what you can say, right? There is no such thing as the king. There are many kings. That's what you mean. And what you mean is, what you're saying isn't right, but you might be able to replace it with something that makes a bit more sense. Yeah. So in order for there to be such a thing as the author of Waverley, so you might say, well, it was the whole committee that was the author. But your point then is, there's just that one thing, the committee. Yeah. You can't take it that there are multiple authors and still say the author. So what's going on here is you want it to be at most one person hits this spot, and most one doesn't refer to anything. It just tells you how many people hit that spot. So putting that together, if you're going to say the author of Waverley was Scotch, what that means is at least one person wrote Waverley, and most one person wrote Waverley, but we haven't said anything about the Scotch part yet. This is telling you how you can derive the meaning of this whole thing from the meanings of the general terms. Where does the Scotch part fit in? We've got two general terms, we've got the wrote Waverley part and we've got the was Scotch part. Where does the was Scotch part fit in? Yep. At least one person is Scotch, okay. That comes close, right, but it doesn't hit it because if at least, suppose that there's a unique author of Waverley, yeah, exactly one person wrote Waverley, and most one and at least one, and there is at least one Scotch person, but then nobody Scotch wrote Waverley, and in fact the author of Waverley was Ukrainian, yeah, then this whole thing would be false. There will still be at least one, and most one wrote Waverley, and at least one person is Scotch. So you've got to explain where the Scotch part fits in. What's that going to do with it? How does that connect to this construction? Yeah, you don't even need to put it like that, because see, that way of putting it requires that you actually have a name for that particular person, yeah. But there's another way you can get that effect. What you want to say is, anything that hits the wrote Waverley part also hits the was Scotch part. You see what I mean? If I just make the general claim, if anything that hits the wrote Waverley, take anything that hits the wrote Waverley part, the was Scotch part will apply to that. Would you take that as a way of elaborating what you just said? Anything to which wrote Waverley applies is something to which was Scotch applies. That'll get it that it's the same thing. You see what I mean? Yeah. Okay. So that's to say, at least one person wrote Waverley, at most one person wrote Waverley, and anyone who wrote Waverley was Scotch. That means the same thing as this. And the point of doing it like this is, when we were talking about simple symbols and complex symbols, I was saying you can derive the meaning of the complex symbols from the meaning of the simple symbols. So this just makes explicit what the simple symbols are and how the meaning of the whole thing is derived from them. It says the simple symbols are wrote Waverley and was Scotch, and what you do is you stick in at least one and most one, and anyone who did this, did this. Yeah. And then you get the meaning of the whole thing. So the whole thing is just, this whole thing up here, the author of Waverley was Scotch, is just a quick way of saying this. Yeah. Is that plain as day? Perfectly obvious? Yeah. One thing, yeah. The Scotch was the author of Waverley. That sounds like, yeah. Okay, anyway, that would be saying at least one person was Scotch, and most one person was Scotch, and anyone who was Scotch wrote Waverley, right? But for that to work, there would have to be just one Scotch person, and there are actually lots of us. Do you see what I mean? Does it matter? Well, you could say it, but it wouldn't be right. Is what I mean. I mean, suppose I said the American was the author of The Great Gatsby. Right, very good. So if you're in a zone, if you're in a context where there's only a certain number of people you can be talking about, then there would only be one, yeah, and then it would work, yeah. So if as I'm sorry to say sometimes happens, there's only one Scots person in the room, then you might say the Scot was the author of Waverley, and then it would work, yeah.
I understand what the point is, but this is not clearly that that's actually the way it parts define pattern. It seems to me like when you think the author of Waverley is Scotch, that you take the author of Waverley to be a definite description point of something, and Scotch is right.
Okay, that's very good. I'll come on to that in a second, right? That's very important, and I want to get to that. Last one, then I should move on. Yeah, very good. Okay, so that's making it very explicit. The whole point here is that these are, how should you say, how many terms, at least and at most. I mean, at least is just telling you how many people meet a certain condition. It's not referring to any of them. It just tells you at least one person wrote Waverley. And take this whole phrase here. Is this referring to any person? It's not referring to any person. It's just telling you how many people meet a certain condition. And when you add in the at most, it's just telling you how many people meet a certain condition. All right? And then the last thing is just telling you how many, but anyone who met that condition was Scotch. Okay, and what you're saying is in Russian it's explicit that you're just talking about one person did this or many people did this. Okay, so I said this is very gentle. It's very important, but I want to just try and bring out something of why it's important now. So the question is, do definite descriptions refer? Frege and Sell take it as clear, as kind of obvious, that definite descriptions do refer, and that's very intuitive. But the idea is, well, when you say the author of Waverley, you're just identifying the object about which you're going to talk, right? If you say the Scotch wrote Waverley, then you're just identifying the object about which you're going to talk, right? And then this is what I was saying last time about the truth or falsity of the whole sentence will depend on how things are with that object. That's why it looks like reference, right? That's the case study reference. That's your point, really, yeah? Okay, but now, Russell's first point here is, the meanings of these signs are complex. The meanings of these signs are derived from the meanings of their parts. So they can't be getting their meaning by just tagging an object. If you take something that really is a name, like Waverley or Scott, the only way it can have meaning is by tagging an object. There's nothing else to explain its meaning in terms of. But with a definite description, I mean, when I was explaining squiggle and dot to you, the only way there is of explaining the meanings of these signs is to show you the object. But if you take something like the author of Waverley, you don't need to be shown the object. You just derive the meaning of the sign from your prior knowledge of the meanings of all its parts. Right? How do you need to be shown an object? You just figure out what it means because you understand ordinary English. So Russell's picture, the picture of a reference of a sign really seems to work for names, but with complex signs, why would you need that notion of reference? Well, when you say Sally refers to a particular person, then you're getting a general term when you say Sally is F, and the truth or falsity of the whole thing depends on whether is F is true of that particular person. And you take any general term, it's always the same particular individual. Whether that individual is F will determine the truth or falsity of this, whether that individual is G will determine the truth or falsity of this, whether that individual is H will determine the truth or falsity of that. Okay? That's a name when you get a simple symbol designating the individual which is its meaning and having that meaning in its own right, independently of the meanings of all other words. Okay, so that's how the name reference relation works. That's what it is to explain the meaning of a sign by indicating the reference. When I explain the meaning of squiggle, I show you the thing on whose characteristics the truth or falsity of a remark like squiggle is made of chalk will depend. But now consider the author of Waverley was Scotch. Consider first this line. At least one person wrote Waverley. There, have we identified an object on whose characteristics the truth or falsity of the whole remark depends? No, we have not. Can you put your hand up if you think we clearly haven't, just in that first line? Okay, good. There's no reference to an individual object here. And most one person wrote Waverley. I mean, so it could be either 0 or 1, but most 1. Is there any reference to any particular object there? No. I mean, it could be Scott, it could be Scott Fitzgerald, it could be Hemingway, it could be practically anyone, and there would still be at most one person who wrote Waverley, or Waverley might have been written by a machine, and that would still be true. We're not referring to any particular person and saying of them, they wrote Waverley. Okay? Is that okay? So this line there's no reference, and this line there's no reference. And here, is there any reference here? Anyone who wrote Waverley with Scotch? Can you put your hand up if you think there is reference here, in this last line? Can you put your hand up if you think there's no reference in the last line? That's great. Okay. So just summing up, there's no reference here, there's no reference here, and there's no reference here, right? So you could work through all of this without it ever occurring to you that any particular thing is being referred to. So if you stick together those three, is anything being referred to? We were doing fine up until the last point. If something was being referred to, where is it being referred to? Is it being referred to here? Is it being referred to here? Or is it being referred to here? It's not being referred to in any of these points. There's no reference to any of these points. Mm-hmm.
When you break it apart like that, it doesn't seem like there is a reference in the two parts, but when you combine them together, it's like kind of like you look at red and blue, you don't see purple over here, you don't see purple over here. Okay.
Yeah, I would suggest a different analogy. It's more like putting different beams of light together to make an illusion of colour. When you put them all together and you get the author of Waverley, yeah, you write that, then there is going to be some one object, yeah, some unique object on whose characteristics the truth or falsity of the whole sentence depends. Right? That's what makes it look like reference. But it isn't really reference. Reference is when you designate the individual object using a name like squiggle or dot, and then go on to say something about that thing. If I just say, suppose I said, exactly 3 people wrote Waverley, and those 3 people were all Scotch, have I referred to anyone there? No. If I said exactly 2 people wrote Waverley, and both of them were Scotch, I still haven't referred to anyone, right? If I say no one wrote Waverley, have I referred to anyone? If I say exactly 1 person wrote Waverley, have I referred to anyone? If I say exactly 1 person wrote Waverley, and anyone who wrote Waverley was Scotch, have I referred to anyone? But if I say exactly 1 person wrote Waverley, and anyone who wrote Waverley was Scotch, that means exactly the same as the author of Waverley was Scotch. That's the whole point. That's Russell's analysis. Exactly 1 person wrote Waverley, and anyone who wrote Waverley was Scotch. This elocution, the, right? It's not a sign that designates an object. It's a sign that tells you how many people meet a certain condition. And in this case, where it's saying exactly 1 person meets this condition, you get something that generates an optical illusion of reference, but it's not really reference. Yeah. Yeah, if there was a reference, then you wouldn't be able to understand the sentence unless you knew what the reference was. If I say to you, Bill's not very happy, you have no idea who Bill is. You just don't understand the sentence. You say, I have no idea who you're talking about. I'm sure you do, but I have no idea what you just said because you don't know who Bill is. So, well, you don't even know that. I mean, Bill might be just my name for him. Yeah? But really, understanding which person I'm talking about when you understand the name is the same thing as understanding the name. That's the whole point about a name being a simple symbol. That you understand it. The only thing there is to understanding the meaning of the name is knowing which thing it stands for. It doesn't have its meaning explained in other terms. Oh, sure, you can know that a name stands for something, yeah. Okay, suppose you take the remark, exactly 1 person wrote Waverley. Yeah, you want to say that stands for someone, we just don't know who it is. Exactly 1 person wrote Waverley, right? Okay, the distinction we need here is a distinction between, just consider what's happening with, this is so basic and so important. Look, I'm going to pick up from just this point next time, yeah? But I just want you to see why this matters so much. Suppose for a moment that Russell and I are right, yeah? Just give me that for a second, right? That Russell and I are right. Then these statements like,